Hello everyone, this is Jay. I know I've not been very active on here, but I wanted to come on here and talk about something that I just recently found out about that is weighing heavy on my heart right now. Um, if you guys, or whoever is watching this video, know anything about Rooster Teeth, you will probably know that they have a show named RWBY, R-W-B-Y, and the lead animator and creator of it, Monty Oum, just passed away. He was only 33, which is why this is such a tragedy, because he's only like 5 years older than I am. But yeah, I have grown to love RWBY. It is currently one of my all-time favorite shows I've ever watched. It's a great show, and you should totally watch it if you have the chance. But anyway, about a week ago, or some odd days, Monty went to the hospital to have a procedure done, and he had an allergic reaction to something they gave him, and he slipped into a coma. And I'm currently recording this on Tuesday, and he passed away on Sunday. His body just gave up after everyone pulled together and raised over $150 in his honor. Sadly, he did not recover. And I just wanted to come on here and tell a little bit of how I found out about Monty and Rooster Teeth in general. The way I originally found out about him was he had this series on GameTrailers.com, at least that's where I watched it, called Dead Fantasy, which was basically a crossover between Dead or Alive and Final Fantasy, where it was a battle royale kind of thing, and he had all kind of characters, duking it out, and I thought at the time it was very inventive, and I had never seen anything like it. And then I saw the first trailer for what would eventually become RWBY, and I fell in love with it. I loved what I saw, and I wanted to keep up with it. Right around that time, I fell in love with a show called Rage Quit, which starred one Michael Jones from Rooster Teeth. Now, I didn't know what Rooster Teeth was at the time. I just knew about Michael, and I eventually found out about a show named Red vs. Blue that Rooster Teeth did, and eventually found out that Michael worked for them as an achievement hunter, which is also a show they do. And that's how I got into Minecraft. But around, I want to see a good number of seasons in. I'm not exactly sure which one. I want to say around 7 or 8. It might have been sooner, it might have been later. Monty Oum was brought on as an animator for them, and their quality drastically improved. Their choreography, their fighting animations, everything. And I didn't realize this at the time. I just loved the show. And then I got into Achievement Hunter and started watching them, and then learned that around that time that Monty Oum was working for them, and he pitched his show RWBY, which came from that trailer I mentioned, to them, and they loved it, and they decided to make it a show. And I watched it, and I fell in love with it from the first episode. It was like a mixture of 2D and 3D animation, and it was sort of anime inspired, but it was American made, and it was like nothing I had ever seen before. And I really enjoyed it, and I found out that it had become a classic, or well, not a classic, but an instant hit. And Monty was the creator of it. He came up with everything, and he instructed them in the choreography, and just Monty was amazing. He was a DDR master, and he, from everything that I've seen with him in it, he's just a lovable, just amazing person. He's a genius, and he, because of everything that he was working on and trying to meet deadlines, he ended up pushing himself too hard, and he hardly got any sleep. And I want to say that was one of his major downfalls. Everyone kept telling him to get sleep, but he was just so motivated and just wanted everything to be perfect that he cut corners with his health. And that was probably one of his major downfalls. I then found out about, and I'm probably going to butcher her last name, but Sheena Duquette. She, from what I knew, was a prop designer. And at the time, I thought was a fan prop designer, but she ended up making a lot of Ruby replica props, and actually gave them to the voice actresses, Lindsay, Barbara, Erin, and Kara, and they wore them at their convention, RTX, and as cosplayed their characters, and then I found out that she was actually working for them, and it was only last week that I found out she was actually married to Monty, which I am just sad that I did not know that. And I actually donated $20 to the GoFundMe. I honestly wish I could have donated a lot more. It might have helped, it might not have, but I would gladly donate $1,000 if I could. Unfortunately, I need as much money as I can get. But no, so the only thing I hate about this, and what I've seen from a lot of people, is that I could not meet him in real life. Unfortunately, I live in Alabama, which is a fair amount of distance from Texas, where Rooster Teeth is stationed, and I have never been there. I have an uncle that lives out there, but no, ever since Dead Fantasy, I wanted to meet Monty and just, tell him how much I loved his stuff and what an awesome guy he was. And I'm sorry, but I'm starting to tear up just thinking about it. It is a tragedy that this has happened. Like I said, for Monty to just die so young, when he had his whole life ahead of him, and there's just so much more he could have done. And to think that I will be that age in a few years, and I have not even done half the stuff that he has. Well, to be honest, I haven't done any of the stuff that he has, but what I'm basically trying to say is Monty was beloved by all the community, all the staff of Rooster Teeth, and obviously his wife, Sheena, who I have actually talked to a couple times through Twitter, and he is an inspiration to us all, and he will be missed, and I'm not exactly sure what they plan to do with Red vs. Blue or Ruby. I can see them moving forward with Red vs. Blue because they started on it long before he came onto the team, so he didn't really have that much say over it. But Ruby is his creation, his baby, and if I can be quite honest, it would not be the same without him, especially since he plays one of the main characters. A part of me wants to see it to continue to see what happens, but another part of me does not, if it means that, it would be different in any aspect. I'm almost tempted to tell them just to halt production altogether, because I'm afraid that if it did continue, it would basically ruin it itself, or they wouldn't be able to do it justice without his vision, without his choreography, without, well, basically him. Like I said, I'm a big Ruby fan. I love the series. I love the characters. But I don't think it would be worth it without him. Mainly because he had the story in his mind, and I don't know if... I'm not sure anyone else besides him knew what was going to happen. And it would be like just trying to drag it out just because of obligation, and there wouldn't really be much heart put into it. But then again, it could be great, It could actually turn into something, even more wonderful than it already is. But I'm afraid that it won't be able to, because Monty won't be able to see it through. And I'm sad that he won't be able to experience it in real life. And goodness knows what Sheena's going through. It's just real painful to think about. And I'm starting to ramble now, so my thoughts and prayers go out to the Rooster Teeth community, the Rooster Teeth employees, Sheena, and Monty's family. I doubt they're listening, but Monty was an inspiration to us all, and nothing will be the same without him. I'm going to end this here, because if I say anything more, I'm probably going to burst into tears, and no one wants to hear that. So, Monty, if this happens to reach you somewhere in the cosmic void, wherever you may be, I just want you to know that even if you may not have thought you did enough, or even if you don't think what you did was worth it, I can tell you for a fact that it was. It's just a shame that I could never tell you this in person. I always really wanted to meet you because you always seemed really cool, and even though I don't know the first thing about animation, you still inspired me with your work, and you inspired countless other animators to hone their craft to try to be even a fraction of what you were and what you were capable of. And I'm just sad that you were taken so early in your life. Because I'm pretty sure you had a lot more you wanted to do, and a lot more that you planned to do, and I just want you to know that I will never forget you, and I will always hold a special place for you in my heart, as will hundreds and thousands of other people. We all loved you, Monty, and we will never stop loving you. We will never forget you, or the great times you've given us, or the great works you've given us. You might not have thought it was great yourself, but it sure was to us. So, that's where I'm going to leave it off now, and just goodbye, Monty. Rest in peace, and Godspeed.